every January we will gather here for a Lekgotla. It is a Lekgotla normally to assess our plans. It is a Lekgotla that is supposed to give a way forward after assessment. All those things we resolved to do, where did we fail and how did we move forward. That's the Lekgotla of January. But again, I know what the difference in this one is that we are going for elections. So part of our Lekgotla of today would be to sharpen our tools, because we will never gather like this again for elections, to ensure that we go to these elections well prepared. So there will be that part. We just came from an ANC Lekgotla that had that element as well. So Nati is lava. We'll make sure that when we emerge, we are ready for elections. I know we have plan. But I don't know how to opinions of this. All of comrades. We are entitled to our comrades and greet all the officials of the province, provincial office bearers, all the provincial executive committee members. Let me greet all the ANC members. And we have a lot of them today. I'm so happy. As led by Comrade Dubai, we have a lot of them, and I'm very happy. It's particularly teaching today. More teaching, yeah. Now teaching them also a morning by Comrade morning. So to all the NEC members, you are welcome. To all the traditional leaders present here. And to all the regional leaders led by their chairpersons, I am mindful of the fact that we have 3 by-elections in the province, and this is a weekend of open registration. So some comrades will join us late because they have to start with those with that open registration. I think if it other last night, the level was Ward 32. That's why the chairperson and the secretary are not here. What is Mafuna? The chairman over school, so I 2 hours. The Sarah Partman, Chairman Haifa, the Aldo Parliament Board, Chairman Haifa, what about police motor master. So I know we have 3 by-elections. So a lot of comrades within those. With those volunteers at the local level. We must also take this opportunity to greet the officials of government as led by the Director General. So we greet you, DG, and all the officials present here. Thank you very much. Comrades, now, what the agenda? We have a lot of apologies. Oh, okay. It's a minute I scan my own, not only did I think there's the agenda. We're going to adopt the agenda, comrades. That's for you. Just to know that that's the agenda that we are going to follow. Let me then ask Comrade Robert, Senator's apologies. Bunga strong terror, need more funded over 55.
Amanda, how are you? Long live President Ramaphosa, long live. Thank you very much. You have already established a protocol of the PEC led by Comrade Oscar and NS members, and all the categories that I will just outline. The invited people, cadres, to attend this Lekgotla are as follows. It is the PEC that convenes this particular Lekgotla, all the peace members, NEC, all those that are deployed and those that are residing in the Eastern Cape. RECs, Women's League, Youth League, Veterans League, COSATU, SANCO, and SICP, SASCO, LGBTQI+, COSAS, MK, LWV, MPLs, MPs from the Eastern Cape, chaplaincy, CEOs of the parastatals, DG, and Secretary of the Legislature and HODs. Contralesa for Eastern leadership, troikas, MECs that do not form the category of the BSC nor the MPLs. PIC, PDC, SALGA, Provincial Commissioner, AIDS Council, municipal managers from the district municipalities, vice chancellors, Progressive Business Forum, NADEL, NAVCOG, the House of the Traditional Leaders, and communists that are from the office that are supporting the program. Now, therefore, I want to apologize because I mean, you was category. Now, the summary that the chair says I must read is as follows. Unfortunately, our agency as well not even going to adopt apologies. Is Comrade Timokosos Ahmed, the Johnny Chawuke, Comrade Matt because of the elections in Western Cape. Ubejani will join us tomorrow. Ulungisa will join us tomorrow. Stella Dabini will arrive late today. Ukomle Pula, Shemtola, Clara, Princess will join us late due to by-election research. Umjatubane will join us tomorrow due to the NEC meeting. So is the Provincial Chairperson Charlie will join us tomorrow. Utoni will join us late. Ugela will join us late. Utunda will not attend due to last year's development. Comrade Kapa, because of the church that he has visited as a guest speaker. Mandibia Hobbs, God of Bunil. Comrade Kubalum Lesapo is part of Jali and Jatuan, the NEC of the ANC PEC. So they are joining us tomorrow. Unyala Mesa, because of the family commitments, Ukomle Tungacha, I think she has already joined. Ukomle Tungacha will not join us because of our commitments. Ukomle G has already been apologized for. Ukomle Ukolisa Fisani will join us tomorrow because of the family funeral. Ukomle Tobani Mashi, Akapilava, Udaimani. Will have to join our home for night by elections, Ewat in Akuyo. Ukumbana and the Siwe, Ungela Youth NDC meeting. Ukomrade Urolin will not attend day one due to family commitments. Badi Puti, the way I apologize, and the way Puti. Although it will attend first day due to family commitments, meaning which may not attend tomorrow. It's an awkward writing. HOD will attend only first day due to departmental commitments. Umbonyane will attend only afternoon, like days. Ukomrade Pile will attend tomorrow due to human commitments. Ubese akapilanga usaziwa uzawuzona ngomso uyomelela ngibone up kodwa ufike uzawufika late by elections. Ndimali mfundele because uthe ubhalile phansi wathi ufika late. Comrades, and that basically these particular apologies and people that are expected. The number of the people that are expected to be in the gathering is 365. So these apologies are emanating from that particular 365. The second element, what the chair is sharing some views with the comrades in the high table. You are all expected to use your gadgets and phones, but the only please is that can they remain in silence? In silence, so that they may not disturb the persons next to you who is keen to listen. Thank you very much, President.
Inkosi kakhulu John. Kodwa sibakaza nabrana. Xa sincumile nje basingafani nje basifana. Now, according to the agenda, we are now going to call the chairperson. Yes, it's you now. Comrade chairperson, come to the stage. We are going to run faster so that we have enough time for commissions planning. And family plans in our Mandaka.
Viva ANC, viva! Viva! Viva ACCP, viva! Viva! Viva ACCP, viva! Viva! We are leaving. Royal Lions Rock. Patino Mama. Family Amakale to Bambi. South Galangani, Makarabani, Lily. Yes, I don't know what things we got and finally go to last one. Thank you very much. Chair, the Program Director. I'm just worried about time. But I don't know if I want to address or straight. Ngibulisa ichaplain kwathi delegation yabefundisi abancedisa i-ANC. The National Executive Committee members, employees residing, friends, and it wasn't residing, who was a trainer, who was a car, for the lava. Employees now on an acting basis led by the committee the members of the provincial office bearers and the entire PEC, the leadership of our regions, the alliance partners, our leads and mass democratic movement representatives here, our traditional leaders, and the religious and the business leaders. I hope that Nobala enough for corner. Employees and all strategically deployed comrades who are invited into this meeting, comrades and friends, a very, very good morning to all of you. Good morning. Good morning. While I'm seated here, I received a message from a former convener and a former deployee in our province, Comrade Lekgotla, and the message reads as follows, I quote, "The place or venue brings back memories of comrades eating and fighting and injuring one another. May this Lekgotla, in the name of those who got injured, give hope to millions of our people in this beautiful province. Also, take note that the book of Exodus is about leadership. I bet 40 years, I'm a Sarai, all our umfundisi umethe wenda ngoba nesikhumbuzo kudala amahamene ageza afuneka umqalekise xa ugeza uba ungaphambili uyazi uba ubekwa ngaphambili indawo yokufuneka ugeze uba amahamene olwam lwemfuduko afuna amanzi nefish ukuze zentana izinto ezimpossible uba zingenzeka. So all our community, no harm, no nyamezela, no harm in the give. All our no harm, no clarity about balance. Hallelujah. No harm, no harm. Pansy, West Togo, the National Democratic Revolution. No harm, no mania about benefits. Sibamanya ngapha kwemida yesine nebala ukuqinisekisa urhulumente wethu ngesininzi nenkqubela phambili azigwede zihamba ngolo hlobo. If we cannot unite our people, we will not be able to address the national question in South Africa. And if we can't address the national question, democratic dispensation of our country will forever be questionable. And definitely our country will never easily see prosperity. When people fight against each other, fight against development, that tells you that there is something that we are not doing perfectly on how we must be prosecuting or meticulously implementing the National Democratic Revolution program. Comrades, we gather here today at this provincial ANC Lekgotla of 2026. Here in Dr. Kusana region of our movement, to map the Eastern Cape's trajectory for the next decisive political cycle. Our history ANC, Comrade Mamlu, I always get confronted as Kali by some people who say we are distorting the history and formation of the ANC when we started it at 1912. So there were people before that who led that process that led into that decisive meeting which took place in Bloemfontein. I know Dr. Musana has been central, has been one of those pioneers that really became a trailblazer for us to be where we are today. So definitely a region named after him is a region that must be very much exemplary in the life of the ANC and in the life of serving the people. Your presence here, comrades, is a demonstration of commitment to the movement and to the tasks that lie before us. The month of January, comrades, constitute one of the most demanding periods in the ANC's political calendar. This is a period marked by intense organizational activity, reflection, and strategic reorientation. I still hope that Comrade Mamlu, as well representing the NEC and NEC members, the NEC will appreciate and internalize the fact that the government is planning differently. I always feel like it's a futile exercise what we are always doing coming here in January. When we come like this, we should be just getting a reflection on how the Lekgotla decisions. The Lekgotla is not meant to resolve. The Lekgotla is meant to decide on 12 months. The Lekgotla decision of July, how those decisions were able to be factored on the planning cycle of government. Government has done everything now. The strategic planning of government has been taking place from August until December. The budgeting process, intent hearing, and all those issues are done. Budget is now almost done. So when we come like this, it must no longer be ritual. We must understand what we're trying to do and what we're trying to say. At least after 30 years, we should be mastering that. We should be perfecting how we are doing that. I'm so impressed, Nobala, that at 10, 1 minute past 10, the new chair was standing here starting the meeting. Prof. So it's a culture that we have been inculcating in this province. It always pains me to go to the national meetings and spend 30 minutes to an hour without a meeting starting. And there is no reason why a meeting cannot start except that people are not in the room. And it always makes a reflection to me that it looks like we don't know what we're dealing with and what ANC is confronting out there in the public and in society. So if we're serious, we must be serious by action, not by words. We can all theorize, we can all say things that are in abstract, but if we can't do things and make things happen, we'll never change this country. We'll never change the economy. We'll forever be having in the next 50 years again, decline the economic structure of our country and the economic structure of our country. We must be prepared to be disruptors. We must disrupt status quo in a quite constructive manner. On the 10th of January comments, we were all in Rustenburg. In that historic tradition of our movement, that continues to provide us with an invaluable opportunity to pause, to reflect, and identify the priorities that must guide our work in the year ahead. Following January 8th, celebrations we held a very successful ANC Lekgotla, National Lekgotla, which in turn was followed by the Cabinet Lekgotla, which concluded just a few days ago. You can imagine some of us who are living in provinces. We literally don't have time. And I was complaining that one thing that I always do in the Eastern Cape is to make myself available to go to funerals of people who are in trouble. And I always view funerals as a platform, even though we are crying or celebrating the life of someone, as a platform that is given to government without any demand that the government must come and consolidate the power of those communities. So spending some time for things that I feel like are not really contributing that much and are always keeping us away from the people will not help us to address the problem of trust deficit that we are always crying about. We wish to extend our sincere appreciation, comrades, to our regional leaders for the work that they've done in ensuring that, in line with the PEC decision, they convene sub-regional and regional January 8th January 8th celebration, the 114th year anniversary. I attended one in Alfred Zone. It was excellent. I saw the other one in Dr. Hobusana. It was good. I saw a couple of others in other sub-regions. They were marvelous to watch. So let's keep it like that, comrades. That's the kind of work that we can do. Comrades, January 8th is therefore served not only as a celebration, but as a diagnostic instrument, compelling us to confront uncomfortable truths about the state of the movement and the work that still lies ahead. Correct response to this revelation is not denial or irritation, but organizational renewal grounded in honesty. According to comrades, the lessons and instructions from the January 8th must translate into deliberate action. They must compel us to rebuild branch functionality, strengthen mass mobilization capacity, and connect the ANC with the daily realities of our people. Where branches comrades are weak, they must be supported and be revived. Where mobilization structures are dormant, they must be reactivated. Where communication between leaders and grassroots has thinned, it must be restored with agents. This question, comrades, goes to the core of whether the ANC retains the practical ability to organize, to mobilize, and to lead. A movement that struggles to mobilize its own membership must interrogate its organizational reach, its resource allocation, and the responsibility of its leadership. These are not matters for abstract debate or future reflection. They require immediate political attention. As this leadership collective, we have a responsibility to conscientize ourselves and the membership regularly and deliberately. Accordingly, that conscientization must begin with our collective ability to articulate the 10 strategic priorities of the ANC as applied in the January 8th statement. Now, the 10 commandments limited with show. ANC is limited with showing as we navigate the implementation or the advancement of the NDR, particularly in the next 12 months. The 10 strategic priorities, comrades of the ANC, as we know them, are building a capable, ethical, and developmental state anchored in professional public administration, accountability, and consequent management. Fixing local government as the front line of service delivery, development, as well as democratic participation. Accelerating inclusive economic growth and industrialization driven by state-led investment and localization. Massive investment in infrastructure, including transport, energy, water, and social infrastructure. Creating jobs and decisively tackling unemployment, particularly youth unemployment. And I pause here, comrades. When we talk about youth unemployment, we can be generic, but to us, it drives the bond home. We are a province that, comrades, become different. A province, comrades, that we have suffered this deliberate exclusion for more than 200 years. If you want to have a feel of what colonialism is all about, or the disastrous effects of the apartheid system, you see that here. We are a province that, comrades, has got a high number of young people who are in the need group, but also now we are becoming a province that sees the high number of our kids who pass matric with their flying colors being unable to access the higher education. Similar to those who graduate, we are becoming a province to home to such high number of such young people. So the point of high unemployment to us as a province, it gives a different significant meaning, which when we meet like this conference, we must apply our minds, find a way of really focusing on these issues, to find innovative ways of how best we can do it. And if we rely on the private sector only, the economy of the Eastern Cape will not go anywhere from the abroad. Eastern Cape needs a deliberate national program. You can even isolate it and treat it as an independent country, because we are like other countries in the African continent. We are bigger than other countries. So for it to be integrated into the national economy, it cannot be treated like any other province. And I always put this thing. We are, together with Western Cape, only provinces that are 1,000 kilometers away from the national economic hub of our country. All our other provinces are 500 kilometers. They can drive in and out, they can do economy, they can easily integrate economy. Western Cape delivered. People who were privileged focused on it, built it as their own world in a particular corner. Eastern Cape was left on its own. We have said it at some point many years ago that we might be peripheral to the center, but we remain that center of the periphery. It's going to be important that national government treat Eastern Cape different. It's not like creating an environment of survival of the fittest and elimination of the weakest. You are coming from a very low base, deliberate program not to invest. So government must invest here. For us to be able to activate the appetite of the private sector to come at this direction. Advancing economic transformation, including land reform, broad-based empowerment and support for black industrialists, is a program that is part of this 10th amendment commandments. Ensuring energy security, managing the energy transition in a manner that supports growth and social justice. You can imagine, for all these years, the energy, electricity we're using in Eastern Cape is electricity that we get from Mumala. You can imagine how much does it cost when it lands here. We must really appreciate the resilience of the water sector here. That has been subjected to that for so many years. And I'm quite happy that we're addressing that now. We've got a massive work happening on the renewable energy. We've got more than 200 wind farms that we're creating here. We're now developing a lot of turbine scales, which now some of them are being exported out of this province. So it's going to be important that now we address the issue of transmission capacity. Because you can do a wind farm. If that wind farm is not linked to a national grid, it might as well be the wind farm that is living in isolation. Yes, of course, Comrades Puta are working very well, very tight on this. Hence, we've been so vocal, comrades, about the nuclear program, which is supposed to be in place. We've got to look at the issue of how to resources they get from an energy and from the water supply point of view. You can't talk industrialization without talking water, without talking energy supply. So it will always forever be a pipeline from an economic and development point of view. These are real issues that we must begin to grasp and understand as we go and engage and talk about them out there. Should we continue strengthening social cohesion, nation building and community safety, including a firm response to crime and gender-based violence, investing in education, skills development, and human capital as the foundation for long-term development. The last one is being the renewing and rebuilding African National Congress itself as a discipline, mass-based and ideological coherent movement capable of leading. I've got an experience of what we went through and what we saw in the so-called watershed conference of Polugwana in 2007. But post-Polugwana, when the leadership focused on building structures of the ANC and uniting the ANC bounced back in 2009 national elections. And we showed that when the ANC is united, when ANC people become positive about the ANC and the work that the ANC does, nothing is insurmountable for us. But immediately the ANC goes opposite directions, immediately we become tangential to the aims and objectives of the ANC. Then you continue experiencing some of the hiccups that we are seeing every day. These priorities, comrades, are the practical lens to which our members must interpret daily struggles in their communities and the standard against which leadership performance must be measured. how we must measure the leadership and performance. And we must always avoid maximizing minimums and minimize maximum. Comrades, these strategic objectives may at times make us sound like broken records, but they are important for clarity and easy reference. They must be articulated confidently by ordinary members of the ANC, not only by the leadership. They must guide our political discussions. It is important that we recite and internalize them with the same ease with which we sing our songs and chants. We are fast approaching the 2026 local government elections later this year. That is our immediate focus. However, our vision is the accelerated transformation and development of our province. The National Executive Committee has declared 2026 year of decisive action to fix local government and transform the economy. This declaration, Comrade Williams, is not an abstract slogan. It is a profound and urgent mandate that demands a total restructuring of our priorities and a radical elevation of our performance. As African National Congress in the Eastern Cape, the current of revolutionaries, we will not merely respond to this mandate, we will embody it. As members of the African National Congress, we must be able to speak convincingly about what it is that we are doing to fix local government. We can only do so confidently if we know what we are talking about. I always feel pain when I listen to national presentation talking, the comment that I don't know whether they appreciate the kind of work that we're doing. I know we are always focusing on the stress municipalities, but I know now where I am. From nowhere, from 2, from 1 municipalities. Now we've got 8 municipalities with clean water and almost 20 of them unqualified. I know every time and again leaders stand up and speak, the only easy target is the municipalities. And we must actually embrace and we must be tolerant to that because we are at the cold face of this. We don't have a luxury to procrastinate in the provincial and local government sphere because we know exactly that procrastination is the thief of time. So it's important that we execute, we have clear plans, we are able to deal with such issues. There is a presentation coming which will be able to deal with that. But the biggest threat to our municipalities and the biggest problem is ANC. Us ANC comrades, how we conduct, how we behave. For the Secretary, I was told in the last few days there were some ordinary council meetings. Is it compulsory?
Compliance.
Yes. Most of those municipalities, or a couple of them, started at 10, finished at 10 p.m. 10 a.m., 10, you ask yourself, what was discussed? What was happening? That includes your metros and into that category. That simply tells you about the challenge you are confronting, the instability, the discipline, the capability of leaders that should be able to manage it. I know in other areas, things are beyond our control. We are in the LGU situation. But where ANC is governing the majority, what makes ANC Congress to behave in that manner? When people are expecting the ANC Council to resolve, decide, allow investment to go ahead, drive economic development, create jobs. We sit there, we fight against each other, we show our own interests for self-aggrandizement. It can't continue, Congress, like that. We condemn that view. Council must meet, council must execute that business of council, council must pass, councillors must meet people almost every day, resolve problems that our people are confronted with there almost every day. The ANC 2008 statement was brutal honest. Our own weaknesses and failures in service delivery governance, the slow pace of economic growth and the high levels of unemployment have demoralized and alienated many individuals and communities. We cannot blame our people for their cynicism. We must earn back their trust through disciplined implementation, demonstrable delivery, and collective accountability. The time for empty rhetoric is over, comrades. We must address the local government emergency. Our political opponents will do everything possible to expose our service delivery challenges and shortcomings. but they've got something to talk about because we are chaotic, we are anarchists, even in government. You can't do such things in government, as much as saying things are actually not allowed in African National Congress itself. We must therefore, comrades, hold our leadership and employees across government to account. Accountability is not optional. It is a revolutionary occupation. When more than 80 villages have endured dry taps for 5 years without a sustainable solution, leadership must account. And maybe that DJ claims that we are here. I know very well our municipalities all time gets close to $1 billion budget allocation a year. Alfred gets to almost 900 million, all for water, supply, reticulation and bulk, etc. So I just get a sense that comrades, we are not coming all right, we are not coherent into that space. Almost all our districts, comrades, all our districts are the same when it comes to the issue of these water challenges. And it's the biggest Achilles heel that ANC is actually confronting. When our cities are blemished, comrades, by potholes and collapsing road infrastructure, leaders must be held accountable. When the provincial government fails to provide decisive leadership and effective support to municipalities, the executive leadership must be held accountable. These measures of accountability must be institutionalized, systematic, and relentless. We must pursue them without hesitation and without fear. This process must never be mischaracterized as a political witch hunt. It must instead be understood for what it is, or truly is, a necessary recalibration of governance and organizational discipline. This approach is fully consistent with the mandate of the ANC's National General Council, which instructed us to rebel decisively against non-performance. Comrade Helen and Comrade Ugo are disturbing me in their own bilateral. The President, comrades, was very much unequivocal in issuing this directive during the ANC Lekgotla, and the Office of the Secretary General has been tasked to set up a war room to deal with poor performance in ANC-led municipalities. There was no ambiguity in his message, and there will be no ambiguity in its implementation. We are equally unequivocal in conveying this line of march to this gathering, comrades. Performance is non-negotiable, service delivery is non-negotiable, leadership without accountability is untenable. As the ANC, we must demonstrate through action and consequence that we are serious about good governance and believe the realities of our people. That is the standard we must set. That is the discipline we must enforce. Comrades, this Lekgotla must also give guidance to government employees as they will enter a new financial year in April. That means the ANC government must account to the public through the state of the government address, state of the province address and policy speeches, as well as the SOMA and SODAs. We expect our government employees to share with us today quick wins that can be implemented in the lead up to the elections. That government report, which has been prepared, a progress report on governance, comrades will be able to highlight and indicate work that was done. But I believe it is the case, regardless of all challenges or against all odds, we've got so much positive to speak about than what we are saying about ourselves. If all of us as these members of the ANC, we can take it upon ourselves to be good communicators for the ANC, ANC will be much more better than what it is in terms of the negative narrative or aerial battles that are taking place out there. We are not engaging with the national radio talk shows. Every time you listen to Radio 2000, SAFM 702, it's a bombardment against the African national negativity that we have never seen. By some people who are just blatantly anti-ANC, no matter how much we can explain. But we people who can say something better about the ANC, we are nowhere to be found, and we are not even prepared. Whilst we are saying that the ANC is being systematically removed from power. The year 2025 gave us both positives and negatives in government. The Tana flood disaster and our response to it highlighted the need for stronger and coordinated disaster management system. The gender-based violence and violence in general continues to ravage our communities, as seen in the recent killing of educators in Kabangu. The visibility of government leaders to confront or to comfort the families affected in traffic accidents is much more appreciated. Going forward, Congress, we must not only condemn such acts of violence, but we must also devise plans to end them in our society. On the flip side, Congress, governments improved last year with health and education recorded improvements in their own accounts for the first time in many years. We must not regress now from now. Let us appreciate the efforts that have been made by our educators and learners to maintain a 4% pass rate. We are a province of mathematics. I was listening there when people are talking about mathematics, etc. Yeah, we have actually adopted that. We are doing it. Hence, we are seeing more than 40% of our kids passing with quality mathematics, physical science, and accounting. And we are not turning back on that one. We are resourcing, we are doing everything that we can to give more capacity to our teachers. Because obviously you need maths to solve X. Those who have done algebra. The X who are confronted with problems is underdevelopment, high unemployment, and high levels of poverty. We've got to solve that X. So we need that mathematics for our kids to ensure that which is not bad. Most of them, they are going for medicine. There's no oversupply out there. It's in there, actual studies, it's in there, accounting and science subjects and engineering that we need so many of them. The time that you go back to pass out of myself, I think about the one who are assisted by all of them. So it's a hard work that our kids, teachers, and the leadership that we are providing as government to them. As we face the task of implementing our program of action for 2026, we do so at a time when our structures are receiving a new mandate from the branches through regional conferences. We are left with 2 regional conferences to sit, Amatole and Sarapatman. The provincial conference is also due to sit in March as instructed by ANC. We don't want officials of government to be preoccupied by conferences. We are professionalizing government. Focus on work of government to serve our people, while the politicians are busy going up and down preparing for conferences. Government must focus, government must work as if there is no conference coming. We can't have people who are scared on who's going to come next, no, who are prepared to invest or who must come next. It can't be done in that way. And I really want to plead that government officials must focus on their work. If our way is alone, we as whatever that you are trying to do, you are doing at your own period. But if you take my advice, do it and tell me later. I know, comrades, that conferences defocuses leadership and members of the ANC, and they tend to take the higher way of the board. The ANC is the only political party that attracts huge media and public interest when it holds its elective conferences, whether at a regional level, provincial level, and national level. And sadly, even members of opposition parties have an opinion about who should lead the ANC. We hereby ask the ANC because of what ANC is all about. Like I say again, never come to plan at Stagati. As you see at the conference, the ANC, we figure amalungu Twitter, we figure in Okales, I got Owens with ANC as the Italian yard. We also knew what would like a campaign. Also, now we line, people with ANC as they are good. Those things we must avoid them. We must avoid polemics. We must be disciplined revolutionaries or aspirant revolutionaries, do campaigns in a manner that seeks to also put the stature and the dignity or decorum of the ANC in a much more better pedestal in the society. Obviously, that is not how people who want to lead the ANC must behave. Particularly not at this time when the movement is extremely under pressure from counter-revolutionary forces. We must control our ambitions, comrades, because the public listens to what we say about the ANC-led campaign. Once the nomination process is officially open, it is the basic units of the movement, our branches, that will exercise their full organizational right to pronounce on leadership choices. They will do so through properly constituted branch general meetings guided by the ANC constitution and all the guidelines. We have done that because we have inculcated that culture. We have normalized the situation in the Eastern Cape. Conferences of the Eastern Cape are always contested. There must be nothing new about that, nothing unconventional about that. We must focus on the good work, we must not be distracted. We must therefore remain resolute in asserting and entrenching the hegemony of the ANC as the leader of the society. We must consciously build and consolidate organizational strength, guided by the organizational report that was tabled by the Secretary General at the National General Council in December. That report provided a clear and honest reflection of the state of our movement and importantly affirmed the enduring strength of the ANC across communities and structures. Our task always is to maintain this momentum and deepen the organizational renewal agenda outlined in that report. We must build on its insight, defend organizational cohesion, and strengthen discipline at all levels of the movement. Only a strong, united, and organized ANC will be able to exercise leadership over society and effectively address the material conditions confronting our people. Alliance Congress is as crucial as it has ever been in this current epoch, where the possibility of coalition government is unavoidable. Therefore, Congress, we must find each other on things that unite us than those that divide us, and that advancing transformation, improving the living conditions of our people. Singaba campaign the Communist Party was contest state power, but we will need each other across the land. That's why Congress, each and every individual can stand up and go and register an organization contest. That person will get a seat, and that seat counts against us. We have seen individual people, minorities of the minorities, one person in the council becoming a mayor of a metro, simply because that person is a deciding factor. We should not be allowing things like those. Issues of alliance, Communist Party, ANC must be discussed within the context of strategy and tactics, not becoming an emotional debate of personalities and characters. And if we do that, we are burying the ANC, we are burying the Communist Party, and I can tell you, we will regret later. In March 2026, Congress we will confront an immediate decisive political task that Donald Bala spoke about in the chair, that will be having 3 by-elections here. The by-election in the past of the year, we have been observing a tendency in the past of the year where our councillors are paid to resign, was offered other things by other political parties, and they resign. When they resign, we are left exposed Congress. And we've been losing those words now by narrow margins, 3, 5, 10 votes, which is so painful because it tells you that there is another movement that seeks to reverse the gains that was made on non-nationalism call that ANC has been leading in our country for years. Leadership must therefore always be visible. Hence, we have allowed other companies not to be here on time to start there, so that on the open day registration, our people are able to interact with leaders and resolve issues on the ground. Comrades, from the 15th and 17th, we have seen Umkhonto Wesizwe Liberation War Veterans in January convening their conference. That was a historic gathering conference that served as a precursor to the broader South African Liberation War veteran structure. And we are quite happy to see that because we needed them organized, and also clear instructions that have been issued by the President to ensure that all offices of the Premier must strengthen those units that are meant to support the military veterans. I equally expect the duly elected structure companies of the military war veterans, liberation war veterans, to work closely with the ANC. Those are commissars. Those are people who can deal with issues of political education. We need an ongoing, relentless political education as a panacea to the challenges that we are confronting. I also pass on to the ANC, all about the African National Congress. So people must be able to be conscientized so that people can have conscience. You will never have a conscience if you are not conscientized. You are nowhere to be near into that. African National Congress. ANC is not that. We are sometimes becoming an antithesis of what ANC is all about. As I move closer to conclusion, we must analyze Congress, the balance of forces, both domestically and internationally. These dynamics shape our strategic posture and define the limits and possibilities of our political priorities. Domestically, Congress will remain strong as an organization, though we face challenges of declining electoral support. If we all work together, for the common good and common purpose of the ANC and our people, the movement will rebound and reassert itself decisively. By contrast, our ideological and political opponents are not in better shape either. Some are engulfed in deep internal crisis and ideological incoherence, with clear signs of political hemorrhage. These conditions will undoubtedly work in our favor, but only if we act with clarity, with a clear strategy, with political maturity and organizational coherence. Political opportunity does not automatically translate into a political victory. It must be consciously seized, shaped, and advanced. On the economic front, comrades, we must come up with a very clear program to alleviate unemployment challenge as I've spoken about earlier. If there is one thing that making our people despondent about the ANC, it is unemployment. Again, I want to TikTok Professor PEC Lekgotla as I define Eastern Cape and what Eastern Cape is, meaning the Eastern Cape to really suit. I hope that we've looked at that, we've seen it, is actually giving a correct analysis of what we are really grappling with in terms of the challenges of the Eastern Cape. The ground is not, if the ground is not equal, and we must not behave as if the ground is equal simply because we've demarcated our country into provinces. See, on my way to the rally in Alfred, so I was speaking to the leadership of geoscience, and they're telling me that they've done some advanced research on the so-called Zero complex, where they are almost looking at the issues of minerals that are there. And I was shocked to learn that the chances are that even the gold. And someone told me this story, Professor Somaroda Figeli, or Biomass, from 18th century, because Cecil John Rose, discovered all those minerals. But why usually Ashma and Musa by the European? Watch away in Kagafuna, one head, and Sanaro, by everyone else, minerals as a country. Yes, I always look at us for. Already, some rooms are all looking for, but these are opportunities that we must go there. Begin to assist them by both ends. Eastern Cape Conference has got almost every opportunity, every potential, very unparalleled potential. If you look at it, whether you look at it from oceans economy and agriculture, etc., that it must actually be looked at. The South African automotive sector continues to face acute structural pressures. Chinese and Indian automotive manufacturers have entered the market with speed and scale, shaping consumer behavior through the provision of affordable vehicles. While this has stimulated vehicle sales, it has simultaneously intensified pressure on domestic manufacturing and unemployment. We must celebrate, comrades, the strategic investment of the Cherry Group, where the media is reporting that they will be taking over the Nissan manufacturing plant in Roslyn. We are hoping that this promotes local production by Chinese manufacturers away from import of vehicles. What pains me is that we did everything. Actually, we went into Cherry long time ago, made a proposal. This is exactly the classical story about challenge that Eastern Cape has if you compare it to Gauteng, Durban, and Western Cape. So when you have investors, the so-called investor-driven decision, you see that all along we've been negotiating, trying to set them up here, because we're trying to introduce together with Mercedes-Benz the so-called modern manufacturing capacity or production capacity in our plant. But when they come here, seeing a better resource and infrastructure, electricity and other things, they are likely to be swayed away. Yes, we've got a strong competitive advantage in terms of the ocean for export market, but whoever wants to manufacture for a domestic market, it's better to be where the population is, so it understands. So I think Eastern Cape needs more support from national to ensure that national must be able to say, is Eastern Cape strong on water sector? It's historical. 100 years of manufacturing cars. First car in this country was manufactured here in Eastern Cape by Ford. If Eastern Cape is strong on the water sector, why can't we all put energies towards building that? Because if you don't, you are forcing this migration, this labor sending narrative that people who are losing jobs would hear Mercedes and elsewhere must take back and go to Roslyn because there are new opportunities that are coming there. National government must discipline how we are able to mobilize the private sector to come and invest in our country and support that without delay if we want to stop the problem of a perpetual informal settlement. Because as long as people are going to gather in the areas where there seems to be opportunities, we'll have that kind of a problem. We must persistently persuade other importing manufacturers from China. I'm sending a team to China of senior government officials to talk to a number of other companies that want to come this side. I know the other company is based at Zhejiang. Zhejiang has got more than 20 years spinning agreement with us as a province. We've got good relations, so we're trying to engage and persuade as such. We are also making progress in getting new company to take over Goodyear factory, and the provincial government is working on acquiring ownership stake as well in that particular business. One of the matters we must discuss at this Lekgotla is the role of structures of the ANC in supporting exploration of oil, gas and mineral deposits in our province, particularly in the White Coast. They are clearly but every time there's an opportunity for exploration, there are NGOs usually funded by other governments outside our country, outside our content, to destabilize what we are trying to do. Hence the challenge that we share experience here in the White Coast. So we can't allow this progress to continue unabating. We've got to confront it and focus on it and make sure that we are able to deal with it once and for all. So it's going to be important that these opportunities, we don't let them go. We lost the Ntomo project was when the investors came, they were rerouted to Richards Bay, and I was told that it's an investor-driven opportunity. It died its natural death when we were more than ready to set up the oil refinery in Koha. That project never took place. Today it is not happening. These are things, a number of catalytic projects, when they are supposed to be brought in the Eastern Cape, we go and argue, Lekgotla is never about total, because automatically national ministers and everybody should be able to say, let's go and address the problems, the serious socio-economic backlogs of the Eastern Cape province. We need that from the east. Internationally, comrades, the terrain is far more hostile. President Trump continues to disrupt the global geopolitical and economic order through aggressive unilateralism, undermining multilateralism, and injecting volatility into international relations. Consequently, South Africa was compelled to adopt a tactical posture, including withdrawal from certain engagement with the G20 during the period of American presidents. This was not a retreat, but a calculated and principled response to increasingly unpredictable international environment. The disruption agenda is now extended to our own shores. It's a regime change. Nothing else. You can find other explanation. It's a regime change. What we saw in Venezuela, you can easily saw it here. I hope they are clear because I was not in the picture. Oh, I was saying that I was going to leave the line. So what we are saying is to talk about the Israel, a posture and a behavior which we are condemning so hard. It's informed about. It's purely about regime change. It's a political agenda which is infiltrating our society using traditional leaders now in the form of our kingdom of our table. We've seen it, but what we see is a political arrangement that is being created with other political parties like ATM, etc., just to undermine a legitimate government in our province as well as in South Africa. We want water, we want electricity. We work with all the high commissioners and the international missions in our province. We've been working with them, including US. We've been working with the Consul General, ambassadors that have been here, but they cannot just come and undermine national government, undermine the provincial government. I'm happy to remember that national government has intervened and acted decisively in this issue. Now we all know that that fellow, the Israel envoy, is now been declared as a person non grata, instructed him to leave the country. Look at the attitude. Immediately, the other reaction is to expel ours in that side. It tells you that we're in a political space. It's about regime change. You must not even think about all this, but they are playing with feelings of our people whom they know they need water desperately. That's why Congress must wake up. All of us must stand up and begin to realize that things were standing in a very, very precarious balance. Let's unite Congress. Congress, let's renew. Congress, let's serve our people. And let's serve them diligently. I thank you very much for lending your ears, and I humbly declare this Lekgotla open. Yes.
Comrade President is upper kwezisitulo sokuqala kanje akuthola uhlala phakathi kwawo.
Chairperson of the session, Comrade Bogo. So I really said something else. My apologies, Comrade Bogo, Chairperson of the province. Let me acknowledge ANC members who are here. Comrade Pinky, Comrade Obed, Comrade Demi, Comrade Pam, Mrs. Pam, Comrade Zizi, and President of the ANC Women's League. I'm not so sure if I saw anyone else, but indeed, Comrade Secretary, even Comrade Lekgotla is one of the employees that gave me that apology. The other comrades were not able to join us. Let me acknowledge the Chairperson of the province together with the PEC. Thank you very much, Comrade Oscar, for that. And I'll touch on some of the issues, as we said, and looking at how we can be able to assist in the province. But what are the issues that have come through? Alliance of the ANC, leagues of the ANC, regional structures, deployed leaders, chaplaincy, and traditional leaders. The ANC this year has declared this year as the year of the decisive action to fix local government and to move this. The mic is really obstructing. I'm making on the side of my iPad. Has decided that this year is declared the year of decisive action to fix local government and transform the economy. Comrades, fixing local government and transforming the economy are both underpinned by the same overriding goal or strategic objective of the National Democratic revolution, which is the creation of a better life for all in our country. That is to say, comrades, that ours is a struggle which inherently necessitates selflessness, in that anyone who is engaged in a struggle to create a better life for all cannot be preoccupied with the betterment of self at the expense of the poor and the vulnerable of our society. Local government is a sphere which is at the coalface of service delivery, and is therefore a sphere through which most South Africans directly interfaces with government. It is also the sphere in which people choose their representatives directly. In other words, comrades, it is the sphere in which the principle of the people shall govern is practically implemented in reality. And this is where it finds its expression mostly, because we electing directly our ward councillors. These are the people that we decide are representing us. Not those PR processes, not the provincial processes. As we know, those are dependent on us, majority as our ANC branches, structures, and leadership. But a ward councillor is determined by the people in that ward, that this is the person who will represent us across political parties. This is precisely the reason why, as the ANC deemed it as a matter of absolute necessity, that our efforts must concentrate in ensuring that local government as a sphere functions as an ethical and capable sphere of government. Reflecting on the May 2024 election, the ANC January statement of 2025 said, I quote the following: "The reasons for the electoral decline include the state of the economy reflected in the crisis of unemployment and social reproduction, poor basic services and deficiencies of capable, ethical and responsive governance, and the ANC's organizational weaknesses and damaged brand," unquote. Our theme this year, comrades, is therefore informed by this honest observation that we made last year. In this regard, we are saying that as an ANC, if we do not improve or fix local government such that we are better able to deliver services and transform the economy, to assist us to resolve the problem of unemployment, we cannot expect to improve our electoral fortunes going forward. Our decision to increase our efforts is also informed by the increased effort by the counter-revolutionary forces to weaken the ANC's capacity and power to carry out the national democratic revolution. We have observed as the ANC that these forces, to achieve their goals, they form and fund political parties designed to fragment the motive forces of change. On the other hand, they sow the seeds of regime change, establish parallel state structures, and foment secessional tendencies in our country. As we approach local government, comrades, we should not fool ourselves. We must expect that these forces will increase their efforts to fragment the voices of change to deter our fight against, including that one of imperialism. As Chair has said, in what we see is happening in the West. The question we can ask ourselves, for example, as we all do this analysis, that SSCP as the vanguard of the movement, and also that historically in terms of its role, does this analysis. Why has it been difficult for SSCP to convene a special conference to review the decision to contest the election as per the call of their provincial structures? And this will not be only in the interest of the ANC, but it will be in the interest of saving the national democratic revolution, by a fight against imperialism, a fight against counter-revolution. And that's why this question is eminent and is important. Again, comrades, the question that we must ask ourselves is, what is it that we must do to decisively eliminate the opportunities for these forces of counter-revolution to neither fragment the forces of change nor find traction with voter base in our constituencies? This year, 2026, marks the 30th anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. 1996, a constitution that transformed South Africa from an unjust society that was built on colonial domination and apartheid exclusion into a democratic, human rights-based, state-founded on dignity, equality, and freedom for all, is celebrated. When the Constitutional Assembly adopted the final constitution on the 8th of May, 1996, it represented the culmination of one of the most inclusive and participatory constitution-making process in the modern world. This was not merely a legal act. It was the crowning moment of South Africa's negotiated transition. And this is what we emphasize, that this constitution that sometimes we forget and neglect, is that it was an outcome of constituencies. There was serious consultation across, almost what we want to do with the national consultation forums, across provinces, across wards. And even the Assembly had various representatives. I was making a joke the other day in the office, because I got a poster of all those who were part of the constituency. So you will have white calls, political activists, or freedom, others were called freedom fighters, and others were called politicians. It's very interesting. So 3 groups of white today clubbed together. They were defined. There were freedom fighters in that, classified specifically as freedom fighters. And then there was a group politician, those councillors at that time, that's how they classified them in that assembly. And it's necessary for us to reflect on this, who was there, because everybody was there representing every section. And I'll come to that because it's going to be important for us to understand when we celebrate this constitution, how it was negotiated and how it was developed. The subsequent certification of this constitution by President Nelson Mandela on the 10th December 1996 at Sharpeville moved the new constitutional order into fabric of national memory, a living covenant between the state and its people. In this regard, the National Lekgotla asserted that the 30 years anniversary should reset the Constitution as a living social contract, advancing socio-economic rights, equality, dignity, participatory democracy, and development at all levels, leaving no one behind. And this call, comrades, to action of every ANC member to play their role to make South Africa into a country that truly belongs to all, united in our diversity. Again, this reasserts the importance of improvement of the local government sphere in the delivery of basic services so that our people can experience our constitution as a living contract. This year's January statement also makes the following assertion, I quote, "This 30th anniversary takes place amid increasing strident attacks on constitutional values, the rule of law, and rule-based international order," unquote. Indeed, comrades, we now find ourselves in an international environment in which the change in global balance of forces has created a dangerous geopolitical situation. The march towards a multipolar world is irreversible. And it is a march that is paved with dangers and opportunities for the global south, especially the middle-income economies such as ours. The world today is galvanizing around regionalization, best exemplified by the Trump ideology of Monroe Doctrine with a Trump characteristics. This doctrine seeks to create a Western Hemisphere region in which the U.S. reigns as a supreme, brotherly neighbor, reacting to the snap by the U.S. Then the EU is now reorganizing itself into a region with its own economy and security arrangements. Then we look towards Asia. China is slowly gaining hegemony in terms of power in the Asian, albeit in peaceful, non-aggressive fashion, thus creating an Asian region. A similar reorganization is happening in the Middle East. Though still characterized by volatility, but they are moving towards reorganization and working within the region. It is evident that in the world, if the world and the march towards multipolarization proceeds in the regionalization manner, single countries by themselves are not going to be able to withstand the pressure and the attacks of the powerful regime. We felt it, we are feeling it. When US decided to target us after the ICJ, even our neighbors kept quiet. The continent was silent. The attack of the defenseless, Venezuela, and the kidnapping of President Maduro and his family is an example of this comment. The attack on the Iranian economy has also reached fever pitch. Without Venezuela, all Cubans are going to suffer from the powerful. The question that we must ask ourselves is, what is it that we are doing as South Africa, together with the African continent, to create a region that is strong and that will lead us to an economic and political sovereignty? Are we going to be able to create a region together with African countries strong enough to withstand the new scramble for African vast mineral resources? Because we know the fight is about resources. Take over and claim the resources. We have critical minerals as the continent that are needed by the global power. Are we able to say today that we will withstand that as a continent, any attack against us? But most importantly, as South Africa, will we be able to rally other African countries? And what has become difficult? What has made it difficult for us to be able to rally support behind us in the agenda that we have in fighting imperialism? Why is it countries that we are meant to work together, including the countries where we have liberation movements, have been difficult to speak out and openly stand their support against imperialism? What does it mean today, comrades, when we also talk in the African continent as South Africa in the context of Mabahaba? Conflating between illegal and legal migrants and almost creating an impression that South Africa is not a place where we welcome foreign nationals, even if they come legally. These are questions that the Lekgotla must grapple with. How do we ensure that we are able, within that context, build a country and focus on our national interest and say this is what is best for our own country? We are gathered here, comrades, to discuss the important issues of what will form part of the agenda of the ANC PEC. This gathering is happening hot off the heels of the ANC Lekgotla National, which was held last weekend. And during the week we had, as Premier said, Comrade Oscar in his capacity as Premier attended the Cabinet Lekgotla. Amongst other things, the ANC Lekgotla reaffirmed that the central challenge of the current phase is not policy absence, but an even execution, coordination gaps, and variable institutional capacity. our lack of implementation of our decision, but not making sure that our institutions are building capacity to be able to respond to our challenges. With regards to the second part of this year's theme, which is the transformation of the economy, the NC has adopted a 10-point plan, economic action plan, which outlines urgent and practical measures to accelerate inclusive growth and job creation. In this area, we focus firstly that we needed to reindustrialize and improve productivity, but also diversify our economy. We are seeing green shoots in our economy, but more needs to be done. And I must say, as Premier was talking about the issue of the exploration, we have a great national Comrade Premier and Comrade Oscar is the chairperson. You will be happy in your capacity as Premier. That we are looking between ourselves, mineral resources, and national treasury. I will be convening that meeting as Minister of Justice in my capacity to look at specialized courts to deal with disputes so that we can fast track where we need to do exploration, and the NGO wants to take us to court, but we don't take forever to be able to have that decision. These company regulations, the cannabis chain, there have been issues in our state. But for now, we are for personal use. My powers are related to cannabis personal use. So, we not trying to there's nothing for medicinal use. That's what the court said, Chair. It's not me. You got it in. That's the setup platform. Now I'm just following a court order and implementing. But you can't say. Consolidates is fighting a lot. So you can make sure they are not in the streets. I said, I have no way, because if they are in, for example, I can share this. When my mother was sick of cancer, I used cannabis to reduce her pain. It's sold in shops. So that's why I couldn't have difficulties of gazetting the regulations. I know the importance. Cannabis oil is very good for suppressing pain. So between the courts, we're looking at specialized courts, but not only in the mineral space, but particularly just to deal with trade issues, so that we can be able to fast track, because quite a number of investment people are raising concerns about the dispute mechanism in South Africa to be able to do that. So Eastern people benefit quite a lot, because we suffered with the exploration process that we wanted. But similarly again, we've got to look at, as we discussed, I saw in one of the Lekgotla commissions going to focus on the economy. We were with the president in UAE, and one of the issues that was touched there as well is the interest of UAE in expanding investment opportunities in the state. And I hope TTICT is coming to talk to you. One of the issues, as they were talking about, is the expansion of the airport to be able to create for cargo use. I mean, that's an economic opportunity that is massive. So I hope you take that opportunity and expand it. There's very, I know you took the flag initially when they came and then, but there's economic benefit to the people of Eastern Cape in the investment. The second area is around transformation of ownership and control that we need to focus on, a capable and ethical developmental state, just energy transition, continental and global solidarity. The implementation of this resolution through putting into action the 10-point plan will go a long way in ensuring that we reduce unemployment, fight poverty, and reduce inequality. We are therefore gathered, and also one of the issues that we must focus on in the agenda as the Lekgotla is to be able to look at the areas that the Lekgotla reflected upon. The Lekgotla reaffirmed that the central challenge again is around what we are able to do, the uneven execution. And part of what Lekgotla has agreed to are 6 priorities: fixing local government and improving basic services, speeding up economic transformation, inclusive growth and job creation. wage a war on crime and corruption, GBVF as a national disaster, building a South Africa that belongs to all through national dialogue and the 30th anniversary of the Constitution, making organizational renewal visible and irreversible, building a better Africa and a better world. So these are our priorities as outlined by the book, and what we need to do, comrades, as we work towards making sure that we align as a unitary organization, but also respond to this action plan that is there, because the implementation happens in provinces, regions, and in our branches. And we define this work not only in the context of government, but the context of ANC structures being able to be activist structures. Structures of the ANC that are able to become a living organization that keeps on ensuring that we remain in touch with the people but addressing their issues. As I conclude, Comrade Chairperson, is that as we go towards the next provincial conference, we must always, in all our actions, our engagements, as comrades, as structures, as leadership, remain and remind ourselves that we are an organization that is the hope of the people of the Eastern Cape. We are part of an organization that remains the hope of people in South Africa and in the continent. We are a country that facing an assault of the imperialists, an organization that is facing an assault by counter-revolutionary characters who wants to see the ANC dead. The ANC is a revolutionary movement whose task is to transform our society so that all South Africans can enjoy a better life. Such a task can only be achieved by a movement that is constantly reminding itself of its task and develop the necessary capacity to carry out this task. This means, comrades, that we must walk out of this gathering this week, 2 days, understanding what our task is and have a resolve to carry out that revolutionary responsibility and task, and ensure that the people of Eastern Cape can be able to experience a changed organization, an organization that is serving them, not its own interest, an organization that is not at war with itself, but an organization that is there to serve, because the ANC is the movement of the people. Thank you.